It's a great day.
And here we have my favorite champion select music as we build into a very tense situation. What will Misfits Gaming change, if anything? We heard the analysts there talking about how they wanted to see a change in bot lane. We talked about it last game that Hans Sama and Mickey have not been finding lane leads like they conventionally do. And even though we saw the Ornn being taken away.
Oh, got banned from Misfits there, not banned by Splyce.
It's another Lulu game, dude. The Varus priority.
Yeah, Varus has been picked every single game for Kobe. He is so good at it. Has worked incredibly well for him. And now Misfits do have to change some stuff up in the draft.
See, and I don't even know if they play Tahm Kench. I don't know if they'd be willing to pick it away. Ooh, Xayah Aatrox. Okay, so we wanted to see winning bot lane. Here you go. Xayah guaranteed to be a strong 2v2 laner. Now, you would imagine that the Tahm Kench gets locked in. They could also go for the Ornn here. I like the fact that Ornn is picked with the Tahm Kench because last game you saw that if someone is gobbled up, it doesn't matter because both of them get knocked up by the Ornn ultimate anyway. So by taking that away from Misfits, it denies one of the engage tools and it offers you an engage, and then you have the follow-up with the Varus as well. So I think it would make sense for Splyce to pick that one up. But I love this shift from Misfits. Definitely going a little bit more aggro, going back to their roots of let's have a strong early game.
That makes a lot of sense. It's what's worked for them in the past, and they did need to change something up because otherwise their season would be ended here. There's the Sion pick, though. We saw this banned out in every single game between Schalke and Splyce, apart from the first, where Onowamne played it relatively well. It wasn't amazing, but it then did get banned out a lot.
Now remember, you can flex it. Most commonly we've seen it top and mid, but expectations are that it would go towards the top lane. But you never really know where it's going to go. We'll have to wait and see. And Misfits immediately saying, well, you know what? We like Ornn into the Tahm Kench. It gives us another engage option, and it gives Mickey a little bit more freedom as to what he wants to play.
There's a few different options for him in terms of support. I'm looking at things like possibly the Leona, which can actually work relatively well into a Tahm Kench.
I was thinking
as well.
Thresh.
Thresh is a good choice as well, but the thing with Thresh is you pick off one person, they get eaten out, gobbled up, and you just run away.
But then you
with
just
Leona,
play towards the
Tahm Kench. 100%, 100%. The Leona is good for that as well, because even if you E onto someone, you can then stun the Tahm Kench.
Let's see, you predict Leona, I predict Thresh. Let's see how things play out. If they're going to lock it in, they should, in theory, do it on the next rotation so that they can save the flexibility of the Aatrox, who, remember, can still be played in the middle lane. You would assume it is in the jungle for Maxlaw, but a lot of jungle bans coming out from the side of Misfits, like the Skarner being taken away from Xur, saying no more early game jungling for you.
Wonder what Splyce is going to take off for the final pick here. Kindred's been a ban in the past. We've seen the Aatrox banned out as well, of course, can't be banned in this game.
Watch him ban Lulu.
I mean, it would make a lot of sense.
It would. All right.
Instead,
they don't think that this Aatrox is jungle.
They think it's mid.
Or they want to force it into jungle because they have now an answer for it.
That's true. What would your answer to Aatrox jungle be? A Pyke?
Oh, it's Pyke jungle.
Okay.
Oh no, what am I talking about? It's Pyke support. It's Pyke support. I'm way too excited about it. Brain went, Maxlaw, Pyke jungle.
I want to lay a tiny seed here. Maxlaw has played a lot of Pyke jungle.
That's why I said it. That's why I said it.
A lot of Pyke jungle.
That's why my brain automatically went there.
I sincerely doubt
logically,
it will be, but it still flexes.
We assume that it is actually a Pyke support.
If it's Pyke jungle, I know what the first 10 minutes of our discussion is going to be about. There is Xerxes Kindred.
Have we even seen much of his Kindred? I feel like this is not a champion he typically goes to. Doesn't really fit within his wheelhouse or his play style.
3 times the split.
What's his record?
33% win rate.
33%. All right. He's got 1 win.
1 win and 3. It's not the best.
Well, we'll see. It is a good early skirmisher. I imagine it'll do fine in terms of kiting against the Aatrox. But they need to play around it. This does mean that Splyce can play around the early game, especially with a Sion. And you pair that up with a LeBlanc. Guaranteed winning 2 versus 2 matchup. Right, so what will Senkux go for in the middle lane? He could go for his defensive TF build that he ran against G2. Does give you the option to play around side lanes, and they could just hard commit towards camping bot.
I kind of like Morgana here as well, as a support. If you wanted to roam the Pyke into the jungle position, have the Morgana support for a bit of safety against the LeBlanc, but looks like it might be Lissandra
I think this is fine too.
Instead.
Yeah, I think this is fine. Ever since it was brought out, I want to say by Schalke as an answer to the Akali. It does feel like the rest of the world has picked her up and seen her value. And Gen G today was even playing her a lot outside of the Akali. They were playing it into Zoe. And I think that you look at utility mid laners, and she kind of fits the bill in that. She offers a huge amount of crowd control, her roaming is surprisingly strong, and if you're looking to play towards bot and get this Pyke Xayah ahead, then it's a perfect champion. But also it's a perfect champion for roaming mid. If you want to use the Pyke to just make plays in the mid lane, maybe get Maxtor in there as well, the amount of CC setup that you have is monumental.
Yeah, LeBlanc's not the easiest person to get in the mid lane, though. You can wait for her W to be down. So we're talking about Misfits wanting to play around bot. This is much more a traditional style draft for them. Gives Mickey a little bit of the ability to roam as well on the Pyke. Splyce, on the other hand, have a bit of skirmishing, have a bit of early game once again, and then you've got the Varus insurance for the later portion of the game.
Yeah. Good summary.
Thanks. I've been practicing.
So, Splyce definitely want to play more towards the early to mid game. That one item LeBlanc power spike is when we want to see Nisqy trying to make plays. For Misfits, they have a couple of options. They can look to prioritize playing through bots, which is something they did a lot during the regular season, or they could try to shut Nisqy down. They tried to do that in Game 3, and he ended up coming back into the game due to some really good counter ganks coming out from Xerxes. Which one Misfits choose to play around is still up for debate. We will see. We're jumping into Game 4, Medic. This is match point for Splyce. One more win, and they continue on through the gauntlet, whereas Misfits, their journey ends for the rest of the year.
Do or die for Misfits. Their last chance. Their final stand. 11th hour. They only have one shot left to continue in 2018 as an organization, because you'll be knocked out of the EU LCS. There's no more EU games for you to play, and you won't be making it to Worlds. So have to see where things go from there. Splyce, on the other hand, just one game away from placing up against G2. Playing against two of their former members as well. We have to remember Sankux and Mickey. Mickey, who's been more like Brother Mickey in this series than anything else.
Well, he can redeem himself now on the Pyke. Playmaking, roaming champion. Definitely fits the wheelhouse for Mickey against the Tahm Kench. I think it's not a bad pick. Even though he does have his ulti to kind of match your roams, that won't come until you hit that level 6 mark, and Mickey can start roaming well before that. He's going to grab his early mobility boots, look for opportunities, and then go from there. Ooh, can't quite get the early ward. But for those that may not have seen much Lissandra, she has been a champion that has come back into the meta recently. There was no real buffs or changes to her. It was just that with the introduction of Akali, many teams looked for an answer, and Nukeduck was the one that I believe first pitched it. And he brought it out into the Akali. And it works really well in terms of just locking down assassins. She used to be a really good matchup into Zed as well, back in the day, played by Pharrell Lord. And it was definitely a big popular champion, and he was actually the reason why that champion became so popular and received so many nerfs not long after that. And she kind of stacked with CC in lane. You often just throw a lot of poke out. You have a little bit of wave clear, especially once you hit level 3 and you can combine all your abilities together. But the biggest thing is that if the assassin ever tries to go in aggressively, you can just lock her down very quickly, which means that it's difficult for LeBlanc to often win out on early trades, which is why she's such a comfortable and strong pick into many mid lane assassins.
I do see Xerxes picking up his first mark on the Kindred here. Didn't go for the double scuttle loss that we've seen in the past. Maxwell is invading on towards these Razor Beaks. Xerxes is going to spot him out, but Maxwell should pretty much cleared the camp by now. Going to be a blue buff versus red buff trade. Maxwell has the Umbral Dash. Will get himself to safety.
Slide and glide out of danger. Mickey looking for a hook.
Bone Skewer lands onto Kasing. Ignite comes down straight away as well. The trade happening as Maxwell was on his way across, but Splyce able to keep themselves alive for the moment. Maxwell may look for the flank if he can get in, but he won't do it for the moment.
Mickey did have the stun, but chose not to use it, unless I missed it. But I think he still has that available now in the event. So this is the lockdown we were talking about. Unfortunately, Nisqy was just out of tower range, otherwise that could have been a huge trade for Sankux. But now he's ran out of health pots. Corrupting Potion versus the Doran's Ring. Definitely more of an aggressive start. He needs to be careful. Oh, okay, there's no Ignite on the LeBlanc, so he's actually not in that dangerous of a situation. But this will give pressure over towards the Splyce duo, and now they're going to steal away some camps.
Xerxes able to answer the Razorbeak steal that happened just a little bit earlier. Unfortunate that his second marks spawned on the Gromp. Maxlord took that for himself, so Xerxes' second mark will be delayed just a little bit. He's coming down towards this bottom side.
Maxlord, no flash.
This is what we wanted to see from Misfits. More play around the bottom side. You know Because Sing has no flash, has the cleanse still. Kobe still has the
Feel
heal.
it, though. They feel it.
They can sense it.
Spidey sensitive, but all of his abilities are being used. Xerxes rushing towards the bot lane. You can see pings coming down. Maxwell's literally used everything. I don't think they're going for it.
No, I think they're just going for Krugs.
Yep,
There's still no ignite on Mickey either. Oh, here we go, Bone Skewer. It's on to Kasing, locked up with the chains as well. Kasing healed up. Look at the damage coming back down onto Mickey. Flash forward. There's the kill. Xerxes flashes in for himself as well. One more auto on Maxwell's enough, and now Hans Summer is in a world of hurt. No flash, no heal. Red buff taking Mickey. Able to keep his AD carry alive.
But again, another great counter gank from Xerxes because of how long it took Maxlaw and the squad to set that one up. They relied on Kasing getting the face check, and the biggest issue is that Hans Summer wasn't in range to land auto attacks onto Kasing. This meant that the damage wasn't there from Misfits. Maxlaw had to commit his flash to getting the kill, and Misfits, while getting first blood, end up giving a trade back over to Splyce.
They do still get first blood for themselves as well, and a big CS lead down towards that bottom lane. Hans Summer sitting at 36. Kobe has a bit of a wave there, so probably even out to about 6 difference in the end. Mickey may look for the steal here. The mark is on. Bone Skewer pulls it across the wall.
That's unlucky.
Scott Crab's like, nah, mate, I'm just going to taunt back across. Xerxes secures it. Second mark of the game. Actually, third mark of the game for him.
Yeah, he killed Maxlaw earlier.
Yeah, must have marked Maxlaw.
Yep, so we'll have a look back at this. So, you can see, Maxlaw doing Krugs, things still on cooldown. Lands the Bone Skewer. Look here, Hans Summer, not in range. Can't hit him, can't hit him, can't hit him. Not enough damage, which means Maxlaw has to flash in. Hans Summer also flashes in to try and get the kill, and then he ends up using all of his summoner spells. I thought it was Mickey that actually flashed in to try and help secure the kill, and if it wasn't for Mickey, Hans Summer may have lost his life as well. So, ends up being a 1-for-1. Misfits, importantly, though, are winning in the bot lane, and that's what we wanted to see. That's the shift we needed for the side of Misfits, so that Kobe doesn't get to this position where he's constantly carrying his team like he has done so far in the series.
Niski a little bit behind in the mid lane as well, about 13 CS down or so. We see Mickey able to roam across because of that pressure they have in the bottom side. Hans Summer just freezing the wave, keeping himself in a pretty easy situation down there just to get the farm where he can. And the question now becomes, can Misfits actually take a lead and close out a game with it? They have a small gold lead at the moment, about 700, but they have the opportunity to make it a lot larger. In game 1, they had a similar opportunity and weren't able to utilize it. Kasing eats up Mickey. He's down already. Kasing gets it. Ignite down as well. That's 1-for-1 trade. Xerxes trading onto Maxlaw, though. Maxlaw tries to turn it back around. That's a huge amount of DPS. Oh. Not quite enough, and now Niski's on his way down. Has the flash. Doesn't need it. Kobe lands the arrow through the heart of Maxlaw.
God, that damage that came out from Maxlaw was nearly enough to secure the kill. And perhaps if Hans Summer had committed a little earlier, they may have been able to trade 1-for-1, but it ends up being a kill advantage over to Splyce. The blood is being shed early in this game 4, and it starts off here with Mickey setting up the play onto Kasing, who goes extremely aggressive. He's able to get the trade back due to a combination of the Kobe Q and the Tongue Lash. And here we see just not quite enough damage from the Q from Hans Summer. He tries to body block the piercing arrow, but it's not quite enough. Kobe picks himself up another kill. Now we see more fighting.
Mickey will goes towards the dive, keep himself alive. And although there's fighting, it's very back and forth. It's very 1-for-1 in most of these trades. So both teams will probably be pretty happy with the game state at the moment.
7.5 minutes into the game. Healthy lead in favor of St. Cook's. Top lane has stayed pretty even, but Omni has often been pushing that in. Neither TPs on the top side. The game's slowing down a little bit. You got to keep your eyes on the bot side river vision, largely because it does mean that Mickey may be looking for a potential roam, but yeah, you can see in full control of Misfits. This makes it very easy for Mickey to slip into the darkness and maybe slide up towards another lane.
Misfits have done this so well throughout this entire series, though. Splyce have always looked in the dark, whereas Misfits had river control most of the time. It's just strange that with the river control, they haven't actually been able to do much. And it's been Splyce making the proactive plays.
Well, they've been finding kills bot side, and I think that's the important thing because it means that you're keeping constant eyes on where the LeBlanc is, which is what's really important in this matchup because of her mobility. She can very quickly move down towards the bot side of the map and turn an exchange in her favor. But the Lissandra pick working out very nicely for Senkik so far. He has a pretty solid CS lead. He has the level advantage. And now we can go back to base. I'm curious as to what he decides to build. Many often rush for the Luden's Echo to help with the wave clear, but also there is the Rod of Ages build, which is a little bit more defensive, a little bit more tanky, and your goal is more to actually get into the fights and rarely use the ult on yourself more than other people. You kind of go Rod of Ages into Zhonya's, low damage, but more survivability. And if you have that extra survivability, it just means that you can get into the thick of things and tank a little more damage before you have to run the risk of going for that Zhonya's option.
I think I'm going to predict the Rod of Ages build here, Vedius. It's a little bit of a tough one, but I just really feel like he's going to go Rod of Ages here.
Well, we'll see. We'll see.
Game. He's already got a Catalyst of the air.
Oh, good prediction there.
Amazing.
Great one. Yeah, I saw. I was just trying to give you props.
Thanks, man.
You're welcome. Here we are. Drake being slid up. Sion roam down. No TP on Alfari. I feel like Misfits just have to concede this.
Yeah, just because of the roam from Odo Wamne down, it means that the Inferno Drake will go over to Splyce. And once again, Misfits with a team with the vision. Splyce come in, clear it out, straight away take an objective, and then run their way back up towards the top lane. And Odo Wamne will basically lose nothing.
I think the big thing here was the fact that blue buff had just spawned, and so Senkux was moving over to that, allowing Nisqy to get priority mid. Bot lane wanted to see what was going on, and Mickey could have the vision, but they didn't have the proper support. So even though Misfits were aware of what was going on, they just weren't in a good position to really contest that objective. So they end up giving it away for free, ends up being an Infernal in the back pocket, and Mickey looking for a pick.
Maxwell's around the corner as well, could join up with his team. But once again, this Aatrox in the early game has seemed to try to do stuff, but hasn't been as effective as some of the other picks we've seen this series.
But I do feel like it has gotten a lot of leads for the bot lane of Misfits. You know, even though he himself has died, you have a decent CS advantage. I mean, the CS advantage was bigger for Hans Sama, but it is Kobe and Kasing that was pushed underneath their tower. He has the BF sword plus the Bazooka's Greaves. So I think it's important to recognize that, sure, Maxwell himself isn't fared and he's not building a massive gold lead for his team. He is enabling Hans Sama and Mickey more, which is not really the story of this series so far.
Okay, we'll see if that enabling actually pays off dividends for Misfits. Only one game away from being knocked out of the regional qualifiers, not having a chance to play again this year. So that's the time you really want your enabling to work.
Yes.
Because if your enabling doesn't work now, you really never have another opportunity. Or at least not this year. Yeah, next year.
Not interesting. Are they actually going to start this one off?
I mean, Maxwell's done 3 Rift Heralds in a row in this series. He's got it every single time. Nisqy jumps in onto Senkux, missed the Ethereal Chains, but still getting a lot of damage down. Mickey's here as well. And you can see, once again, Misfits have rotated their AD carry and support up towards the top side. As soon as the Dragon goes down, they say, okay, we can play around Rift Herald now instead. Get their AD carry and support up here. And it just helps with the lane push and the lane priority that they need.
TP just came up for Alfari, TP up for Senkux as well. He's going to go back to base. Probably, oh, he's going for Merc Tread. So he's actually going for full survivability in this matchup. Doesn't want to run the risk of dying to LeBlanc, which I think makes sense.
Yeah, like I tend to find, Vedius, if I can decide between dying to someone and not dying to someone, I go for the not dying.
Yes, however, like, that's a slight trap card.
Okay.
Hang on, though.
A little bit like the trap set down in this top lane, Kobe. So getting a lot of damage down onto Mickey. Maxwell's just around the corner here, hiding. Waiting for the opportune moment to strike from the shadows. The Aatrox going in. There's the Bone Skewer. Kobe eaten up by Kasing. Flash away. Kobe still alive. Mickey flashes forward, misses with the death from below, and now he is in an awful situation. Cannot get away from Splyce. Once again, the kill comes out. Odo still doing a lot of work here. Kasing actually all by himself on the back line. Not where you want to be, but can still go gold. And Call of the Forge God used. Hans Sama flashes away. Kasing down. And Splyce sacrifice one in the
Senkux.
Here comes Senkux. Lissandra trying to get on that back line. Nisqy. Oh my goodness, a 3-man knock up into the Lamb's Respite. Kobe healed up, but that's not enough. Misfits get the kill on towards the AD carry and get out.
Senkux tried to be a hero there, but the Lamb's Respite comes out just at the last minute. Ends up being a 1-for-2 in favor of Misfits, and now they will have priority over the Rift Hold. Odo Wamne still hanging around Hans Sama.
That's means that does not connect. Hans Sama, no flash, no ultimate, no heal. But realized that Odo Wamne was in the bush. Rift Herald now taken for Misfits after we saw them started up so long ago. They also took a mark off the field by removing that Scuttlecraft.
Wait, so Mickey managed to die and get back here that quickly. Man.
You're speedy. You've got Mobies, you've got Ghostwater Dive. It's like a 35% movement buff at level 1. It's pretty strong.
Swims his way through the rift, clearly at a high speed. So there we are. Rift Herald ends up getting secured for Misfits, and as we jump into the replay, Mickey.
Odo, you don't really want to face check straight into Odo Omne, Mickey. You're going to take the bad end of that trade. Will get himself away. But let's have a look at the replay.
So, here we are. Misfits trying to set up for a dive here. Mickey takes the initial poke, but then he comes in to land the Bone Skewer. Locks Kobe up, but then Kasing providing the good save. Maxlaw realizes, okay, this is good. The TP instantly comes in from that of the top laner, and this is where Mickey overcommits. Perhaps getting a little too enthusiastic, as we have said, ends up giving away his life, and then this is where Splyce feel they can continue with the chase. The problem is, Kasing goes in by himself, Hansama still has flash, Maxwell still has damage, Albari still has ult, and the one thing that they forgot to notice was that Senkux was still alive. He still had all of his skills available, and if he was able to ulti Xerxes, that might have been a quick triple kill there, but thanks to the Lamb's Respite, the rest of Splyce were able to escape.
Rift Herald was used in the mid while we were watching that replay, though. Got one tower and got a chunk at the second. This is good stuff once again for Misfits. 1,000 gold lead at the 15-minute mark. Let's have a look at where we are in terms of items as well. Hansama with the Storm Razor. Varus once again, Kobe going for the Blade of the Ruined King into Ginsu's Rage Blade build. No completed items yet on our mid laners.
And this time around, Hansama is not behind in gold, he's not behind in levels. He's been able to maintain an even state with Kobe, and you can see CSD at 15 plus 14. So he's felt better this game. He's been put on a stronger, more lane-focused AD carry. His support has been able to be on something that he can actually make plays on. And I feel like that with Misfits playing around bot, Senkux playing a mid laner that he's just been able to survive on, things have looked good for Misfits.
Alfari straight onto Kobe here, still has the other one. Maxlaw gets in the midst of it all with the World Ender as well. Alfari down though, Kobe takes one. Maxlaw goes into the passive. Look at the bottom side of the fight though, death from below. That's a dead LeBlanc. Senkux goes into the Glacial Tomb in the midst of all of the Splyce team. Double knock up with the decimating smash. Splyce trying to turn it around. Good Bone Skewer from Mickey to delay Kasing and jumps in. Gets enough damage down. Mickey now will fall as well, but
or will he?
She tries to get away. The heal is enough to keep Mickey alive.
Misfits coming out with a big fight there. A lot of it off the back of Mickey. Flash.
Decimating smash. Odo has enough damage just to take out Senkux. Maxwell's going to try and turn this one around with the chains, but Xerxes has the flank here, and Hansama, that's not where you want to be at all. Maxwell gets into it. The Lamb's Respite, not enough damage to keep him alive. Maxwell will fall to the red buff as well in the end.
That was a one fight for Misfits, and then some poor positioning from Hansama and Maxlaw result in Splyce ending up coming out on top. Very interesting exchange back and forth. Xerxes now 4-0-2 on the Kindred. Definitely as skirmish heavy as it was in game 3. Here we see the Tahm Kench ultimate. Oh, Mickey, you gotta get out.
Mickey's on a control ward there. He has to jump across the wall, and Splyce will get their second Infernal Drake of the game. As you say, Misfits had the fight all done and dusted and then gave away the advantage across towards Splyce.
So let's have a look back and see how things unfolded. Things started off with Alfari in the bush. He realizes, uh-oh, there are a lot more people here than I anticipated. This is a 2 versus 4, and he's not that tanky yet, so he ends up getting blown up. The passive ends up getting used very early on from Maxwell. Then you have Mickey on the back, getting a kill onto Niski, and you think, okay, this isn't too bad. Senkux heals up a little bit. And then, oh, things looking a little dangerous here, but no. Good use of the ulti from Hansama to buy time. And then Mickey even finds himself another kill, so this ends up being a 2-for-1. Great stuff, he ends up surviving, but then there's that re-engage that comes out. And this is where things get a little bit confusing, because so this is just a good pick here from Odo Omne. He flashes in, they get the kill, and then Hansama just needs to get out. He thinks that he's safe running up here, but no, Splyce can just lock him down in this narrow corridor where he doesn't have flash. They get the kill. Maxlaw then can get the kill into Kobe, but they have the health advantage and the damage advantage, so Splyce end up picking up another kill into Maxlaw. And I think that ends up being a 4-for-3 in favor of Splyce overall.
Sure. We'll go with those numbers. That replay was brought to us by Acer Predator as well, which is very kind of them to do so. I'm glad that we got to watch it, and it was a pretty convoluted fight. Once again, we see Mickey roaming around the map. This is something he hasn't done in the previous games in this series, but it's working out for Misfits here. They're forcing Mickey back. They get the pressure down on towards the bottom tower as well. And Splyce haven't really got the speed of play, the tempo advantage to push somewhere else on the map.
Baron spawning in about 1 minute 15 seconds. The rest of Splyce looking for a potential collapse down towards the bot side of the map. They have 5 members in Misfits.
Bone Skewer, Niski jumps away with the distortion. Hans Sama might look for the chase. Niski jumps all the way back.
You can see it coming. You knew it was going to happen. He didn't realize that the brush was warded. He was hoping that Hans Sama would flash over the wall. Instead, he just flashed. Both of them flashed over him. Here we go. Senkuk's not going to go for it. Ulti even used from Odo Omne.
If Senkux had gone for it, he would have been pinned straight into the body of a Sion.
I'm really disappointed that both Misfits members used their flash, because that is such a big cooldown, especially on your AD carry, to not have it. Yes, you have your ulti available, and while the pick was great, losing that summoner spell could cost them in the next fight, where Splyce are looking pretty good again. They've shown multiple times throughout the series that they are a very good team-fighting team, and a lot of it comes off the back of Kobu's positioning. So here we are. Niski, he's just clearing out ward. He thinks he's safe. It's like la-di-da, just going to farm away here. Absolutely fine. So actually, he even knows this ward is in here because he's clearing it out. So then he's like, oh, Hans Sama, flash over the wall, flash over the wall. No! Double flash, dead.
Yeah, if he knew it was warded, I don't understand jumping all the way back. And you can see
he had his team too. I don't know.
Yeah.
Don't know, man. We've seen a lot of LeBlancs accidentally press W.
That happens quite often. Kasing, oh, great flash from him. Bone Skewer to the back, though. Will get stunned up. Alfari on the chase. Senkuk's coming in from the side as well. Xerxes trying to get the damage down from across the wall. They know he's got the Lamb's Respite. Niski takes a chunk. Kasing ignited. Lamb's Respite comes in to keep the Tarm Kench alive. Keep him swimming with the fishes for the moment. Maybe Misfits can look for a little bit more there. 2,000 gold ahead. Double Infernal in the back pocket of Splyce, though. So with the Baron up now, it feels like Misfits are trying to up the tempo, trying to force these players a little bit more.
Isn't swimming with the fishes a bad thing?
Yes, but he is a fish, so swimming with the fishes is good for him. The idea is that if I put you with the fishes underwater, you can't breathe.
True.
That's a biological fact.
Agreed.
If you put a fish in the fishes, with the fishes, in the water...
You've sold me.
I know.
Good one.
It's like magic.
Great casting.
Thanks.
I didn't see it at first, but you've convinced me.
Yeah.
So, speaking of the fishes, Mickey X has a skewer designed for hunting. And so far, he's often landed onto Kasing. 4 deaths so far this game. And landed a couple onto Niski as well. So he's showing his respect. We'll have to jump out of this one. Ooh, that's a good damage there onto Hans Sama. Hans Sama having flashbacks right now around LeBlanc, like, Caps, no.
please
Never
stop.
again. But fortunately for him, Niski only just now completed his first item. 21 minutes into the game, level 12 LeBlanc with only Luden's Echo. Not that scary. I mean, it's still damage, definitely still damage, but not that scary.
And Mickey caught with the chains there. He'll jump across the wall. I think Hans Sama's probably having flashbacks through that entire Fnatic series because a lot of the weight of this game will be on his shoulders as we get towards the late game, and we've seen him, when a game is all but won, make a crucial mistake, and this is not the moment you can make a mistake. If you make a mistake right now, you are out of the regional qualifiers. You're out of the gauntlet. You can't make Worlds for your 2nd year.
Well, Hans Sama now nearing completion on the Infinity Edge. Once he completes that, then he will be...
It will be
high damage champion.
Okay.
It's the easiest way to put it.
Is he not a high damage champion right now? So if a fight was to happen right now, would he still be...
I mean, it's just... I feel like, sure, it would hurt, but Infinity Edge is really what gives you the damage.
Okay.
You know? It's what gives you...
What pushes you
it puts,
over the
it puts
edge.
the meat on the bones. You know what I'm saying? It sharpens the blade.
Puts hair on your chest.
Yeah. You know, so... that's the best way to describe it. You can also see that Senkuk's actually went for Morello Nomicon second. I was expecting the Zhonya's. Instead, this is, he kind of has the health for surviving against the LeBlanc, but he also wants that extra damage. I mean, you do get more health from Morello, of course, but it has a little bit more gettable damage. Here comes the Ornn ult.
One of the Forge got used, and once again it's Kasing who's caught up, just knocked up for days and taken out by Misfits. Bone Skewer lands onto Xerxes as well. Maxwell coming in from the side, trying to get the flank on. There's just getting corruption. Kobe doing a lot of damage down in response. Maxwell will flash away. Odo Omne was not here to join the fight, and Splyce lose 1, they lose a tower as well. Odo Omne's now going to face check straight into Senkuk's, but Senkuk's pretty tanky with that Rod of Ages stacking up.
Maxwell had to flash there because his ultimate was just about to run out, and he knows that if he had stayed, it would have meant his demise. So good awareness there. It will be working towards his GA next to offer some extra survivability. Misfits, though, secure themselves another tower. 4,000 gold in their favor as Splyce work towards their 3rd Infernal of the game. Definitely another win condition that they can look to play around as Kobe and Xerxes are continuing to ramp up.
This is the thing, like Triple Inferno, that's a lot of extra damage you're getting here on the side of Splyce. Yes, you're 4,000 gold behind, but when you've got someone like Kobe who's so strong in the late game on this Varus AD carry, and then you have a LeBlanc and a Kindred to back that up, Triple Inferno feels to me just as worth as 4,000 gold.
I don't have the
We don't have the numbers,
proper
but
qualifications.
It feels.
Okay, that's fair. You can feel that.
I can.
I don't have feelings, so I don't know. I only know analysis and League of Legends and darkness. Anyway, what have we got? Hansama now level 14, Senkix level 14.
Oh, Hansama!
See?
It's
there it is, the Infinity Edge!
Put hair on his chest.
The meat on the bones! He wouldn't have done that if he just had a bone. You had to get that meat in there. That was good stuff from Hansama. Redeeming himself for the series so far. 3-1-5 now. Looking to get some vengeance. Niski 0-3-1 on this LeBlanc.
And Splyce are looking at a very difficult situation now. Yes, you've got a big Kindred. Yes, you've got a Varus. But if the enemy AD carry is killing your mid laner like this, you have to be worried.
All right. So what happens here? Niski uses his dash abilities to clear out the wave. Nothing too inconspicuous. He thinks he's got vision in the top side of the jungle. Just going to walk in here and crit. Root, crit.
Yep.
Dead.
2 crits with the Storm Razor proc.
The ban now started off.
Niski just respawn. Bone Skewer on Odo Wamne. Maxwell's actually down to about half HP here. Senkix has the flank though. Onto Kasing. There's the call of the Forge God as well. 2,000 HP left on that Baron. Kasing knocked up by the call. Odo in the midst of it all. He's pretty darn tanky. Maxwell's low. Baron resetting now. Misfits will not get it. Niski's almost with the fight, and this is great for Splyce if they can find it. Odo actually keeps the Baron aggroed, keeping it busy, keeping it aware of the situation. Now Niski's there, and perhaps Misfits.
Wait, are they giving this up?
The Baron and the Splyce are going for it. Nikki and Senkix trying to get into it, but that is a Baron over to Splyce, and Misfits make the worst call of their split.
Whoa, this game just flipped on its head. Misfits had full control. They started on the Baron. They took way too much damage and then were forced to disengage, but rather than try and go for a steal from Maxlaw, they just give it up. They completely leave it uncontested. Splyce now, they're in a prime position. Look, wait, how is Odo Omni level 16, 12 Fari's 13? Anyway, we'll get back to that in a second. So, it gets started off. They feel pretty good because they know that Alphari has TP and that there's zero vision on this Baron, and they're like, okay, Odo Omni is going to be forced to group with this team. Maybe we can find a fight, maybe we can find a pick. You can see the priorities from different players kind of shifts. Maxwell's tanking up the Baron. Senkix doesn't go in to zone the rest of the team away, and I feel like that was a mistake because his eyes are actually on Senkix. But look at how much Odo Omne's doing, because the Baron combined with Odo was enough to actually get both Hansama and Maxwell out of the fight. Alphari's only level 13, so can only tank so much. Senkix never uses his ulti onto Xerxes because, well, he hasn't tried to jump into the pit yet, which means that, yeah, this Baron just ends up going. That Blast Cone was even there. He could have tried dashing over the wall. He could try go for a steal. Nothing. Now, Splyce have the Baron.
And with it, the opportunity to start pushing out from their base as well. Niski in a side lane, only level 14, but that's going to scale up pretty quickly. Bone Skewer used, Odo Omni caught by it. Looking for that next tower as well. TP flank. Senkix has the ultimate, has the engage. No flash on him. There's the call of the Forge. God hits onto Kasing, devours up his AD carry as well, and there's the flash away. And Splyce just reset. Niski's still up towards the top side here. Misfits have to find an avenue of attack, otherwise Splyce is just going to pull them around the map.
Yep. Niski utilizing the Baron buff. Even though he fell behind, he can just generate pressure and just slowly chip away at this tower. Misfits forced on wave clear duty in the mid. They do have the Xayah who will work quite nicely, but they're too afraid to split up because Alphari just used his TP in mid lane. They wanted to try and force a 5 versus 4. All they got was a flash out from Kasing, so now they have to wait a little bit longer before that ulti is available once again for Alphari.
Senkix running away as well. This Lissandra worked so well into Niski in the early game, but now with that Baron still is falling behind, Hansama's actually going up towards that top side to try and fight against Niski. Odo Omni under the tower now, but Hansama against Niski is the fight I want to see that's happening up towards the top side of the map. Niski looks like he flashed away. Hansama flashes. Oh, Niski! Too good with the jukes. Mid lane tower falls, and now Niski just trying to get the inhibitor before he gets taken out. They have
Splyce
to
can
kill
just
him.
run it down mid.
Splyce are running it towards mid lane. Niski's actually just going to back with the Baron buff here. Inhibitor tower almost falls in mid. Niski gets away.
Beautiful.
And Splyce lived to fight another day.
Really good stuff there from Nisqy. He did cost him his flash, but Hansama used his in exchange. And the fact that he's able to get away with his life, allowing his team to also secure the mid tier 2 and get a lot of damage down onto both the tier 3 in mid and top, Splyce can be more than happy with how everything turned out.
Oh, definitely. Huge wave down towards this bottom side as well with 30 seconds left on the ban buff. They are just going to let that one go. Mountain Drake up in a minute's time, and this game went from being very Misfits favored now to being basically even. Only 1,500
I feel like
gold.
we've said that so many times this series.
We have. It's only 1,500 gold between the two teams. All it takes is a moment of brilliance from one of the Splyce members, and once again, we will see them taking home the victory. Question is, can they do it? Will Misfits step up when they're needed most, or will it be Splyce going to face G2 tomorrow?
Splyce only need one more win to get a little bit closer to Worlds qualification. Misfits, they said it themselves. Their year could have been for nothing if they don't qualify for Worlds. First split, they didn't even qualify for playoffs. This split, they finished in 4th. Definitely not the expectations that they had upon themselves after what was a fantastic year in their first split in the EU LCS.
And they looked strong in their games as well. Against G2, they looked really strong. Against Fnatic, people were saying they were better than the 3-1 scoreline, but against Vitality, they struggled, and now against Splyce, they are struggling once again. They get the Mountain Drake, but look at the mid lane, because Varus and Kindred are just pushing this one in. That Inhibitor Tower is very low. Sankuk's forced away by Odoamne. Misfits trying to react, but Inhibitor Tower goes down, and now Nisqy's down towards the bottom side of this fight, just keeping them busy, keeping them active, keeping them interested, because that's all they need to do, because Splyce going for the Inhibitor now. They get a little bit of chunk damage onto it. Here comes the fight starting. Maxwell in with the World Ender, the knockback. Xerxes pulled into the midst of it all. Kobe flashes away. The chains land onto Maxwell as well. Nisqy doing what he can on the back row. Maxwell goes into the passive. Going to resurrect in a second. Odoamne, that tanky front line with the gargoyles. Bone Skewer on Nisqy. He jumps away. Xerxes taking out Maxwell into the stopwatch. Nisqy, another chain. Misfits just trying to back away from this one. They don't want the bite anymore. They realize that they cannot take on Splyce. Double Distort is not going to connect onto that backline of Misfits, and Splyce have reset the fight for the moment. Odoamne not done with it yet. The Devour from Kasing against the Scion back towards the team. Flash, Bone Skewer once again on Kasing. He uses the thick skin. Sankuk coming in from the side. Maybe someone's going to die now. Sankuk gets onto the backline and takes down one. Kasing goes down as well, and now Odoamne's the next target. That's 3. Misfits find the fight they need to keep themselves alive in this game. Nisqy cannot quite take down Sankuk's, and Misfits will be satisfied with 3.
Ooh, so Misfits end up winning the fight overall, but look at what they've lost. The mid tier 1 is going down. The mid tier 3 is going down. The top tier 3 just drops as well. The Baron spawns in a minute, which means the Splyce will be alive to contest. Yes, the fight was fantastic for Misfits, but they're still at death's door. Their base is still in tatters. And while Splyce can go back and regroup, Misfits have to look for another great fight if they still want a chance of winning this game.
It's what Splyce did in Game 1, it's what they did in Game 3 as well. You can see this fight. Always Misfits on the front foot until this moment.
So a lot of summoner spells were available, which made it really difficult for Misfits to dive onto the backline. But because of all the mobility and peel on the side of Misfits, Nisqy was afraid to commit. Kobe didn't have the front line that he wanted to play around. And I mean, Odo's just standing there, level 17, taking no damage, but Kobe just doesn't feel safe getting close and hitting any of the targets. So hopefully stats can bring up how much damage Kobe did in this fight, because I feel like compared to what he's done so far in this series, it has been minimal. Regardless, we now get Sankuk's coming in. He has his eyes on Kobe. He's like, this guy has no summoner spells. I have everything available. This is where I can get myself the kill. He goes in, he flashes on top, and he bursts him down into nothing. And then the Splyce squad ends up getting split up. Mickey ends up getting a kill. The tank is left by himself for both Hansama and Alfari to lock down. And Nisqy tries what he can, but unfortunately it's just not quite enough. So Misfits end up winning the fight.
And once again, the action continues. Yeah, you see the massive difference between the AD carries in that last fight. Nisqy jumps onto Maxwell. That's half his health gone. Forge God. Sankuk has the flank onto Kobe. and Kasing, they get Xerxes to start it off. Odoamne pops the unstoppable onslaught. Maxwell in the midst of the fight, though. That's a very dead AD carry, and Misfits have finally come online in this fight. They find another 3 kills, and they turn their eyes towards the Baron.
This is the kind of confidence Misfits fans have been waiting for. Another big fight in the middle lane, and finally Misfits are out team fighting Splyce as Mickey goes in again.
Another bone skewer. Kasing has to flash it. Niski taken out by Hansama, cut down in his prime. And who cares about the Baron when you can just push for these inhibitor towers?
Here comes the TP in from Senkux. Misfits, they want to take us to a game 5. Medic, I think it is the day of scrapes as Misfits 17-8 in the kills have the Nexus in their eyes.
9 seconds left on Xerxes. He will do all he can to defend, but Alfio will tank up these Nexus towers for days. Misfits have answered back. They've struck back. And after Splyce led us 2-1, Misfits are looking to take us all the way to game 5.
Whew. After Misfits lost that Baron, I thought we were done and dusted. I thought the game was over. But Misfits found those miracle late game team fights. They were able to get the outplays, and they were able to take us to a game 5. Everything now all on the line for both these teams. The opportunity to play against G2 tomorrow, to still have a chance to qualify for Worlds. Everything on the line as we go into a 5th game.
You can't miss your shot in these moments. One game stands between you and glory, or you and a 3-month holiday. Both these teams know it. A lot of anxiety and trepidation, perhaps, on their faces. But one player I do want to highlight from that last game is Mickey. After dying 21 times throughout the course of the rest of the series, he only died 3, and he was so consistent in those hooks, flashing forward, landing the bone skewers, hitting the targets that he needed to, and really setting his team up for success.
Yeah, playmaker, a strong 2v2 this time around, and 7-1-9 on Hansama. You can just see the difference in this player when he just gets a couple more resources, when you invest into this man. He had 17,000 gold at the end of that matchup, closer to 18,000 even, 34,000 damage outputted, and this is kind of more the Hansama that we expected to show up in this series. This is the guy that Misfits had often played around. And for Splyce, Corbett, he still had a solid performance. He still had a solid game plan. But Niski fell behind. Xerxes, even though 4-0, wasn't able to properly utilize the lead that he built for himself. Kasing, often the focus from the side of Misfits, 1-7-2. And a lot of these late game fights, it was just a matter of, it was so much easier for Misfits to re-engage the patience from Senkux to just lock down a target and then get the chase from the rest of the squad, enable them to come out ahead.
So if you're Splyce now, do you look at it and say, okay, let's go back to late game, let's go back to scaling, play what we know, play comfort in game 5, or do you play the sort of early skirmishing that worked out so well for you in game 3?
I mean, maybe you just have to draft slightly better team fighting. LeBlanc is a difficult champion to make work in the 5v5. Same for the Kindred. Perhaps those are the 2 champions that they need to shift up. While it does give them strong 2 versus 2, we even saw Niski falling behind against Senkux's Lissandra. He was able to get the counter pick this time, and it definitely worked out for them. And yeah, we'll have to see. I feel like maybe you change up those 2 picks. I think Odoamne had a great game as well. It's interesting. I'm really curious as to who's going to be on what side next game, because it does feel like having that counter pick, very valuable for both teams.
Yeah, and when everything's on the line for Misfits and Splyce, a winner will come out of our next match, and they'll continue on the road to Worlds. Before we hit Silver Scrape, let's break down that last game with Shox and our analysts.
Thank you very much, Medic and Verius. Misfits, it seems like, have crawled their way back from the jaws of defeat multiple times in this series, and it feels like maybe the entire split, because somehow they pull it back in their favor in this game.
Yep, I feel like we keep saying that they're gone, they're out. And then the person I did not expect to do it actually ends up playing a Pyke and ends up setting up a ton of kills for the team. Because Mickey in that bot lane, you said it going into last game, he had died like 21 times already. The most we've probably seen in a series so far in the EU LCS. But this game, way better from him. Yeah,
and you have to wonder, it seems like he's doing a lot of the same things, but he has that little oomph that I don't know how to explain it, where they do work
mobility.
out. Mobility, and also because the team is more on the same page and it seems more willing to follow him in these calls. Is that what you see as well, Sheepy?
I think that there's a lot more safety when he's playing Pyke compared to the Alistar. With Alistar, really, I felt like he was missing the engages around his teams. He was just engaging for the sake of engaging. But now he looks way more on point. He is way better at singling out targets and is way safer as well. So in those team fights, Mickey is really the one setting up every kill and pushing his carries to deal all the damage.
I also really want to highlight a huge difference in the early game. They did not lose the bot lane. And the big reason was the entire team spent resources towards this lane. The last couple of games, it's been Xerxes ganking bottom side all the time. But if you look at that top line in Keys to Victory, it says win the bot lane and Mickey must perform. Both things happened.
We are looking forward, and even though we're looking at Mickey X and him performing, we still haven't mentioned Hansama, right? And when you have a Kabi on the other side who is doing a lot of work, I do think he will be an ingredient that we need to see in the last game. Because when it comes to carries, for me, Senkox has been a pleasant surprise today. Not necessarily because he's doing all the damage, but because they have gone away from those pure utility picks like the Lulu, and they've had some inventiveness. They threw in the Urgot, which he was good on. They got banned away. This Lysandra, which did the job fine. But I think there's one person left, and that's for me, Hansama, who can also still contribute if they want to take that game 5.
As long as they win bot lane.
Yeah, I really think that winning bot lane here for them is super key. And we're seeing it in this team fight as well, how Mickey is like, this is actually the re-engage after the first fight, and we're seeing Senkox really going on the backline, one-shotting the Varus, and you know, this is something that they really needed from Senkox to make those big plays, to step up for the team, and it's really nice to see it finally happening from them.
Yeah, I think the biggest win for Misfits all series long is the fact that Niski does not look better than Senkox. And this is obviously a little bit of a critique towards how Splyce are trying to utilize the mid laner, but it's also praise for Senkox specifically, because coming into this game, you would have said mid lane advantage for Splyce, but that's a 50-50 right now.
And it almost seems like the roles have been reversed also when you look at the teams, because Niski is the guy that has been doing the brunt of the work in the playoffs for Splyce. Even in that series versus Schalke, you know, him and Xerxes together against Jukdok were doing great, but Kabi is showing up. So for them, I don't think for Splyce there's necessarily that much going wrong. It is just how about what can they add to get there in game 5? What do you guys think?
So I think for me, we saw the big difference when Misfits were the ones ganking bot lane and stopping Kabi from getting ahead. Because mid lane is now 50-50 and because top lanes are just tanks, it is going to be around bottom side. So I need Splyce to try and go back to what they did in the last couple of games where they're the ones trying to get ahead on bottom side. I'm actually expecting 3 versus 3 fights down there with both junglers. We might even get TPs coming down. Like, it seems to just be all around that lane unless Niski can be the surprise in this last game.
Yeah, and I think as well also really important that Lysandra was the counterpick to LeBlanc. I think he felt way more comfortable, and also the mix this time was that Lysandra was always able to follow up on the Mickey engages, and that was last time not the case. When he played Urgot, he was really slow, he couldn't really follow up. He was really far behind when Alistar was jumping in, and here it's really a mix where Pi can stay a little bit more back, and Lysandra has way easier time. We see it in all those clips that Lysandra is the one-shotting the Varus, one-shotting the Kindred, and that felt way more comfortable, and I hope that they're gonna repeat the style for the last game.
A lot more synergy for the side of Misfits. Just to recap for Splyce, we want to see that bot lane and must survive early. If anything, they actually must get Kabi ahead and he can carry the game.
At this point, because the top line is not really working for this team.
No.
They haven't been putting a lot of resources towards mid in the series, and that's why the bottom one is the key.
Yeah, I have to say, though, that in the beginning of the series, we had a lot of question marks towards Udwamne. I really think, personally, that he underperformed heavily in the last series and was actually a burden playing the Gnar and really not working out great. And in the last 2 games, I really think he showed up more. He was 2 to 3 levels ahead of Alfari, and this is something that I personally didn't expect, and it's a very good surprise and something that Splyce needs, especially when your top laner is strong and the TP is such an important cooldown that they can just use it to help the bot side or set up team fights.
Yeah, I'm just glad to see that both teams and a lot of the players, the further we go into this series, you know, we start seeing more like the Misfits and Splyce we know from, you know, playoffs and the regular season. It's not the game 1 complete fiesta anymore, and that's why also going into this last game, like,
this now turns into a best of 1.
Yes.
So if you look at the whole season for both, now Splyce always went 1-1, but if you look at the whole season, who has the best cards in current form in a best of 1 between Splyce and Misfits? Because that's what it is going to come down to.
If mid lane remains a 50-50, an even matchup, I think Misfits will have the better cards as long as they get bot lane ahead. But that is a big if.
Sheepy.
I think that Misfit got a lot of momentum, and I think those players seem to be way more coherent when they when they know what they are doing, I think they figured it out towards the last game. So I would also put my chips on Misfit, and I'm super excited for the last game. Yeah, I think it's really exciting because we didn't expect after the first game that the rest of the series is going to be out like this, but it seems to be, both teams super willing, both teams being hot to win this out.
And Misfits know if they win tomorrow, they play versus a team they 3-0'd in the quarterfinals.
That's
G2
the best kind of feeling ever. Like, this last game is going to be completely nuts. And because it's so close, like, we might say Misfits gets it now, but if I was sitting with a lot of chips at the table, I would only put in one here. I'd be like, you know what, I'm going to play this one safe because I'm not really believing.
At least what we know is it is all on the table and it is all up to Splyce or Misfits to book their ticket to tomorrow, to the next round, and keep their hopes of Worlds alive. LCK went to Silver Scrapes in 5 games. LPL went to 5 games. So gosh darn it, so is the EU LCS. DJ, turn on Silver Scrapes. We'll be right back. Right now.